So it's Monday, July 15th, and I'm going to do another, hopefully short session of garden notes. The flower boxes are still holding up well. That's the only thing I'm really going to show for flowers. The rest is all about veggie gardening. So here's the group of pots on the porch, and the basil has already started bolting, so I've had to trim it back a little bit. And the lettuce is starting to go bitter. It's still usable, but it's past when it's really enjoyable. And this indigo rose tomato plant is, I think, growing a little bit. It's not really thriving. I planted it so late, that's not a huge surprise. And this green zebra is doing okay, but again, it's not really thriving. It has blossoms on it, but no tomatoes. One little wrinkle to gardening recently is that a robin built a new nest way up at the top there. The second one down is older, it's been there for a long time, but she has feelings about when I am on the porch doing stuff. So here's the flower box in the back, and again, a lot of the basil is trying to bolt. The lemon verbena is very happy and flowering. And over here I put the sad broccoli in that little corner, and it's still kind of yucky colors, whereas the stuff that I planted in the garden from the same batch has all turned green and healthy. So that's interesting. I guess all the manure on the garden is doing something. And again, I've trimmed the basil, I've trimmed the cilantro back a whole lot. There's new volunteer cilantro coming up, which is great. And then there's teeny tiny lime basil coming up. This is one of the Mountain Princess tomatoes, and I think it has more tomatoes on it than any other tomato plant at this point. I think I counted 8, 9, 10. Here's the black vernissage. It has teeny tiny tomatoes, and I recently heard that it has terrible flavor, and that's why it was the freebie from Baker Creek. Here's another Mountain Princess, and it's got blossom end rot. So it's had a couple little tomatoes fall off. I don't know why the other one's doing so much better. And then here's an area that I don't think I've videoed before, but this is sort of like my pile of rejects. I really hate just composting plants after you've watered them day in, day out for weeks on end. So all of my extra tomato starts are over here. This poor one got weed whacked. I think it's an indigo rose. This one's a Matt's Wild Cherry. This one is another indigo rose. It's doing okay. This one I just planted today. It's one of the Principe, the ones for the sun-dried tomatoes. And then I had some habanero peppers that I picked up just last week when I was picking strawberries, and I fit 2 of them there. But this is the thing that I'm really excited about. I just popped in a couple of Cinderella pumpkin seeds, and they both came up. And then I think this tomato is called Grenadero. Again, I planted it today. I love when you can see the shadows of the clouds on the mountains. So here's the main garden. And the big changes here are, I think it's time to harvest these Romanesco broccoli, even though they really didn't get very big. You can see there's this one little flower on this one. The tomatillo is doing okay, but there's no real tomatillas on it. The arugula is going nuts. It's been very tasty. It's just starting to bolt in 1 or 2 places. These cabbages are doing a whole lot of nothing. I put diatomaceous earth on them all of the time, battling the slugs, and who knows if it's helping. And the anise hyssop is also doing great and starting to bloom a little bit. Had a lot more flowers last year. I'm kind of waiting for it to perk up a little bit. And I harvested 2 of the bok choy. The other 2 bolted, so I'm letting them go, and I might kind of experiment with seed collection. The peas are going nuts. They've been great. You can see that the radishes are blooming and they're very pretty, but they tend to fall over. And here's a new transplant that I put in. It's a delicata squash. I picked up these zinnias and a bunch of squash transplants when I got strawberries last week. My unknown whatever here is doing great. The second row of spinach has bolted already. Things just seem to bolt really early this year. And there's blossoms on the Matt's wild cherry. Sage is done with flowering just about. And what I put in over here was an acorn squash. The tomatoes down here have had a lot of leaf curl, so I've been watering them close to daily, but they're still just not totally happy in the grow bags. So more leaf curl. And then I think this Romanesco broccoli, it's time to harvest that too. It's not as pretty colors, it's more purpley. I'm not sure what that means. And we're starting to get teeny tiny peppers. And we have our first tomatillo. And I harvested one of the Savoy cabbages because this other one has damage on it. And this last one was in perfect condition, so I decided to harvest it now. And this Mountain Princess also has tomatoes. Last but not least, check out the Cherokee Purple tomatoes. They're looking good. See you next time.